Are we surrounded by an angelic team, and what does that look like?
If you want legions of angels, you shall have it, but you only need one light. All you need is enough faith in the light to call on one helper. It happens to everybody when they start living moment by moment, tuning in, following the nudges. When tragedy happens, you know you have a team of non-physical beings who love you more than life itself, if that's possible. They're with you, they're your team, you're not alone.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted angelic assistance, especially during trying or challenging times, then do we have the Messages of Hope show for you. Today I'll be talking with Suzanne Giesemann, angelic expert extraordinaire and author of several brilliant books, including Messages of Hope, about getting angelic help, guidance, and reassurance when you need it most. So welcome back to the show, Suzanne. Are you ready to shine?
I am so ready. Anytime I get near you, Michael, it can't help but shine.
Woohoo! It's interesting. We had Sirens just before the show. I couldn't have queued that up. I'm sending messages, not messages of hope. I like that. I'm sending love. I'm sending support. I'm sending whatever I can. It's been an interesting time as our audience has been following. I'm not going to feed that with any more energy than it has to be because I want to feed the news story that's coming. So of hope and goodness. But if you don't mind me starting this way, have you ever gotten news kind of so powerful that it brought you to your knees?
Oh, literally, of course. When my stepdaughter died and my husband, a Navy ship's captain, strong man, I saw him drop to his knees on the deck of our boat sobbing, and that's really hard to deal with. But I had no tools at the time, no awareness of angels, any of that. So I understand what it's like for people who don't know what we hope they come to know.
Did you, when your dad passed away only a year and a half later, were you... Maybe you can unravel the string of what took place in that time that started to give you tools.
Oh, in that time, I had already gotten several incredible signs that Susan was still with us in spirit. It left no doubt in my mind. What's that?
Your stepdaughter.
Yes, my stepdaughter, Susan. And I had gone to a medium. She brought through evidence that I could not deny that Susan was with us. At this point, had no idea that today I would be working as a medium and teaching people how to connect to their own loved ones across the veil. So that year was pivotal for me. And I was meditating daily, so I was already touching this greater reality, having the personal experience of it. Started sharing it with my parents, but my dad was one of these, hey, when you die, that's it. The black curtain comes down, and I'm okay with that, he said. And I said, well, Dad, from what I've been learning, from what I've been experiencing, when we both pass, I'm going to meet you and I'm going to say, so maybe you were wrong, huh? We just left it at that, but he has come through beautifully. But to answer your point more specifically, Michael, when he passed, it was all pretty new to me still. And I remember sobbing in Ty's arms and saying, I can't believe I'll never see my father again. And Ty looked at me and he said, honey, you're the one that's shown me. You will see him again. And I kind of got my wits together and I said, oh yeah, I forgot. So that was the first year. Now my mother has passed since then about 2 years ago, and there's no forgetting. It is absolutely a part of my life. And it's beautiful that it is a journey for each of us. We're all at different stages in our journey, in different states of awareness of who we are and what lies ahead.
I've got to ask, please forgive me for this too. Have you had the talk with your dad on the other side saying, well, I guess maybe there's not just a black curtain?
Well, we didn't have to have that talk because he knew how to talk to me when he came through. He didn't mind that I asked him for evidence so that I could let my mom know this is really Dad. I said, Dad, tell me something going on with Mom that I couldn't possibly know. And he said, she found her electric curlers and they don't work. Now, see, that is a gem. As normal as that is, that's something I knew I could verify with my mom that I had no way of knowing. So, in fact, it was, here, this is the Christmas show. It was Christmas morning when my dad first showed up to me like that. And my mom walks in the door. She always used to come for Christmas breakfast with us and open presents, then come back for dinner later. We lived nearby. And she comes to the door, and instead of, Mom, Merry Christmas, it was, Mom, tell me about your electric curlers. So you can imagine she had no idea why I greeted her that way on Christmas. And she said, well, Susie, I was cleaning my closet yesterday and I found them in the back all covered with dust, but guess what? They don't work. And I looked at her and I said, yeah, well, guess what? Dad came to me this morning when I was meditating and he told me that, and he wants me to do a reading for you. And that was pretty amazing. A whole other story in itself, because until that point, I was already a working medium, but had made that wrong assumption that many people do, that I knew everything about my mom. And I don't know, how am I going to get new information for her? That was the Christmas present for me.
I've got to go there too then. What was that experience like?
Well, I think this is a setup from the angels here to talk about that, because we hadn't planned this at all. But now, I knew my grandfather till I was 16, and I had never met my grandmother. So first one in is my mother's mother. Dad's standing here in the background. I'm aware of Dad. And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, your mother never said I love you. And she just very calmly says, oh, no. And I said, in fact, she didn't nurture you at all. She is pretty hard to live with. And she said, oh, yeah. And I realized we had never talked about this. And then here's my grandfather over here, recognized him right away. But I knew him as the big, fluffy grandfather who was fun and brought you pies and things like that. And I said, Mom, I knew that your dad had a problem with alcohol, but I mean, he did not treat you well at all. And she said, oh, no. My mom was very innocent. And I said, he never said, I love you. Oh, no. And I remember looking at her and saying, how did you learn to love us so much? And then all of a sudden, here's my dad just sending me this wave of love. And I said, oh, my God, it's because of your love for each other. That love in all of us is there. It's innate. So even though her parents, I've never realized she grew up in such a loveless home. And yet my parents gave us the love in the way they could. My mom really wasn't very nurturing, but she was loving in her own way. That came from the love that they found in each other. And it's just an amazing gift.
It sounds like that experience must have been, for one thing, Twilight Zone.
It certainly was for my mother, who passed, like I said, 2 years ago, and she still didn't understand after-death communication. Here I'm this medium, I'm sharing lots of stories with her whenever I had permission to talk about my readings, and she just couldn't get it. And in fact, when she passed, I had the immense experience of being able to visit her across the veil. She didn't come to me. I went to where she was, and Michael, she passed in hospice, unconscious. She was still in a healing state when I visited her. She thought she was still dreaming.
How did this happen?
I sat in meditation and I asked my guides, connect me with my mother, because I wasn't sensing her around. And next thing you know, I'm there and my father's there. And it was an absolute movie-like, full sensory experience of standing next to her. But she was just, in her mind, dreaming away. Very interesting. Now, since then, we've communicated, but that was her initial experience across the veil, because she expected nothing.
So in a sense, if I'm understanding this right, none of this was certainly planned. This is not where we were going, but this is obviously spirit at work. In a sense, then, you welcomed her to the other side. Does that sound accurate?
Well, no, it's not accurate, because I left her in her having her little pleasant dreams.
So without sharing what's going on, you're just, hi, Mom.
I was just there and talking to other loved ones standing around, and they said, she'll be fine. Let's just give her some time. And then in a subsequent visit, she's now playing bridge with everybody across the veil. She figured it out. She said, this is real. I'm not just dreaming. Hey, Mom. Yeah.
So do we have an entire, I've had on a lot of shows about last messages of those who are alive. There's different words for it. People who are going to cross over the veil, who they're seeing, what they're saying, what they're experiencing. Do we have a whole team then that's waiting for us?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. And the evidence really points to it from people, especially hospice workers, hospice nurses and doctors. They see the people in the bed talking to loved ones. I gave a fabulous reading, Michael, for a woman whose father came through from across the veil. And I said, he's talking about his brother. We'll give him a name. I have permission to share, but I don't want to give names. We'll call him his brother, John. And John is showing me this. He's reaching down and he's pulling your dad across, and they're giving each other a big hug. She burst into tears. And I said, there's something about 5 years that's significant here, your dad's saying. She's crying. She said, Suzanne, when my dad was in hospice, I said, Dad, you don't have to worry. Your uncle, John, passed 5 years ago, but I know he will be waiting to pull you across the veil. And that I felt Uncle John in the reading, and he comes through to say, I met him. I helped him across. So there's no doubt that there are family reunions with those we really want to meet. This is an important point, Michael, because there are some people who have very contentious, not good relationships with their loved ones, and they don't want to pass if they have to meet them first up. People change at their own rate across the veil. They grow and evolve at their own rate, just like we do here. So some people, when they feel that love across the veil, when they're aware of the angels who've been with them, but they never knew it, they wake up right away in awareness. They're like, whoa, I didn't realize it's all about love. Others are a little slow. They cling to their human ways. So it's going to be different for each. But those angels that we're ultimately going to talk about, they make sure that the reunions are agreeable on both sides, that nobody has to face anything that they're not ready for. It's beautiful.
It's interesting, and I keep hearing sirens now. It's a siren-filled interview, although the audience won't, because this is a soundproof mic, not the one you're hearing me on. But I can't help but thinking about my grandmother, who one of my grandmothers was saintly to me. The other, we butted heads the entire time, and she has come through to me from the other side, and she is still as strong as ever, but she's like a power player on the other side that's saying, whatever you want, I will help you get that. I want to use this to help you. So the role that people play here, their personality may stay the same, but the role may completely shift on the other side.
Oh, the personality changes too. Those across, if the soul gets through to the story, that it's all merging together now across the veil, so that role they've been playing is aware, I am a soul and I'm here to shine. My role is love. If they truly awaken to that awareness, and they notice they were a curmudgeon, a grumpy old person, then that personality will change. And I know this because I'll have spirit people show me their personality so that my client recognizes them. But then they show me they won't recognize me when they see me because I have changed for the better.
That makes sense. So let's dive into the angelic team of the here and now, particularly sirens continuing. So it seems like a good time that we talk about help. If there's 911, heaven forbid, going on around us. Are we surrounded by an angelic team, and what does that look like?
More than we know. And I couldn't tell you what it looks like because I don't see them. But I know they're here because I feel their loving presence. I hear their messages. Any of us can. And I ask for signs that they're around, and I get them. And when I ask for help, if it's in the greatest good, we get it. Sometimes for mundane things, and it's instant. So the evidence points to angels all around.
Does it appear like, thank you, does it appear like it's a small number of angels, a large number of angels, an infinite number of angels? How much support is there?
I got to ask my team this one. As Source reminds us, there is only one source refracting itself into limitless lenses of this one light. If you want legions of angels, you shall have it, but you only need one light. So does it matter how many are around you? It's the human that wants to know, I'm surrounded by many of them. Yet if you understood the power that only one angel could have, you'd know that's all you need. All you need is enough faith in the light to call on one helper.
Faith. What does that mean?
You might have gotten a different answer from me in the past, but to me, it's a trust based on a knowing. So it's not just belief. I have the faith that if it's in my highest good and I ask an angel for help, it's going to be there. It's trust combined with knowing. And it's not based on what somebody told me. It's based on personal experience.
So if somebody is listening to this, I'm leading the witness a little bit. Please forgive me here. If somebody is listening to this and they're told, just go to your angels, and they don't believe in angels.
Oh, okay. Perfect example of this. My husband's not an angel guy at all. I told you, destroyer captain, and I was the Navy commander, but he's got me beat with the left brain stuff. And he went through, for some reason, a little period of insomnia last month. And it lasted 3 days, and that was all he needed to be walking zombie. And he was miserable. And I felt sorry for him. So we went to bed. He got up the 4th night in a row. In the middle of the night, he came back an hour later. He laid down, and I was going through an angel period where they'd really been helping me. And I said to my guides, well, how can I help him now? And I got an instant answer. And I leaned over. He was behind me. And I said, honey, let's ask the angels to help us go back to sleep. And he was so tired, all his defenses and his left brain down. He said, okay. 5 minutes later, he was snoring and stayed awake all night. He didn't have the faith, the knowing that I had. He just needed help. So his faith came from, I know my wife wouldn't say this if she didn't believe it. I'm so tired, I'm going to believe it. So faith is going to be different for each of us.
It also, what an interesting metaphor, story, because he had dropped his guard. He had left that mind of a no, not possible.
Yep, exactly. And I love this. I shared that publicly in one of my monthly mentoring sessions. And several people have written back and said they use it and it works better than a sleeping pill. Yeah. So I hope everybody will try that one.
Thank you. Do we each have a guardian angel? And would that be a go-to in times where we're hearing sirens?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And the guides right now say we'd stumble much more if it weren't for those guardian angels. Michael, I don't know what you signed up for with what you've gone through in your life. What is your guide taking a break or something? Do you catch him off duty?
I spoke before this, so for those who are not familiar with the one small part of what we're talking about, because I have had 2 NDEs and a whole bunch of other interesting situations, shall we say. I was riding my bike at the recording time. I guess it was 5 weeks ago. It was on Jessica's birthday, of all things, and there's no coincidence in that. I'm going out for a little bike ride here, about 15 miles from New York City, and you it's a heads-up ride till you get away from town. Then you're in the countryside relatively, and on the way back, 2 miles from where we're staying, I heard there was nobody next to me, and then I heard an acceleration. And just saw somebody slam straight into me, and I'm knocked unconscious and many broken bones. Before I went on the ride, I admit to saying my prayers quickly because I wanted to get on the ride and come back for Jessica's birthday. But I had prayed to the angels and prayed to my guardian angel to keep me safe. Now, I have seen my GPS on my watch recorded, my phone recorded. I have seen the tracings of my path after I got hit. And particularly from the GPS, I don't understand how it's possible. It's as if a guardian angel picked me up and moved me around and put me someplace safe until help could get there.
We just don't have the bigger picture. That's the challenge here. Because people pray to angels, well, why didn't they do this? And why did this person die? And why did my child die? All these questions, why? And it always requires understanding that from our limited human view, we can't answer the why all the time. There's some other things at play here. And look at you. I mean, you're sharing your positivity with everybody after your incident.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's, well, okay. For those who can't see on the podcast, I look scruffy now, shall we say. And the scruffy kind of bearded Michael who looks in the mirror, and I don't recognize myself, Suzanne. It's really interesting. I'm like, who is that guy?
But what you're not saying is you're wearing the beard to cover your scars and your wounds.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But the scruffiness on the outside is representative, I can't speak today, it's all good, of changes taking place on the inside. That while I'm like, come on, man, haven't I had enough? It's been phenomenal. I don't wish it on me or on anyone. But I mean, I'm about to cry. Jessica keeps joking. She's like, I'm the pregnant one, not you. Why are you crying so much? The amount of changes that have taken place because of that, not despite it, but because of it, are phenomenal. And like the challenges we're having right now as we're getting to a safe and smooth pregnancy, shall we say, I know are here to serve us. And that may be the big picture, whether we want to call it the Christmas lesson here or the big picture lesson from the angels. We're all right.
That's the thing. My prayers weren't answered. Well, if you can just trust that there is a greater answer that has yet to unfold, that carries us through a lot.
So when we're brought to our knees, because now not going back to your incident with your stepdaughter because you didn't have the skills now. You hadn't watched this show, Suzanne.
Yes, somehow Spirit helped me get there another path.
Yes.
Many paths. Yeah.
Where do we go? When our breath is sucked out, so to speak, where do we go?
Well, happily, the people who are listening to this show and are familiar with this path, let's put it this way. What do they say? There are no atheists in a foxhole. Even those who deny God in that moment of crisis, what will they cry? God, help me. Because there's a part of us that knows we're not alone, that knows we are connected to something. The thing is, once we start reaching out sincerely, not just in moments of crises, we start to enjoy the fruits of that connection. So we sit quietly daily. That's everybody's task. That commitment, that discipline to remembering you are not only human and to finding out who you really are then results in this sense of connection that's unshakable, so that when tragedy happens, you know you have a team of non-physical beings who love you more than life itself, if that's possible.
Going back to our team, so many directions I can go with this. Angels, guides, guardian angels, does it even matter what labels we call them, or how are they here to help us?
It's their job. And they have already experienced, or they know fully the human experience. They have that greater perspective. And so they lovingly guide us with insights, nudges, miracles, things that sometimes part the rules of this human earth enough that we can't deny there's a greater reality. I would love to share with you a big aha I had right in the middle of my last mentoring webinar, live answer from spirit that literally made me drop my jaw. I'm constantly teaching people to ask your team of guides for signs, specific signs, and people say, well, I don't get them. And I can't just say, well, you're not looking hard enough. And I have been asking my team in spirit, give me a better answer. I need an answer. And suddenly they said, the signs are there, but you must be led to the sign in some cases. So it's a moment by moment working as a team every day, not just, I asked for a sign, and so I want to see it in one specific moment. So what does it look like to be a part of a team across the veil here with us? For me, it's a constant checking in. I'm not even talking to the team. It's just, what is in my best interest to do now? Should I go wash the dishes or should I check email? And there's a knowing that guides me that way. It's using that internal guidance system every moment, no matter what you're doing. So you thought you were going to do one thing, but for some reason, I'm going to read this book. And there's the sign. But if you're not moment by moment realizing you're guided and checking in and really listening to your heart and not the thinking in your head, you won't open that book where the sign was waiting for you. So the answer was the question for everybody is, are you tuning in with your heart and your gut all the time? Or are you mostly still in the head thinking? This is where the angels speak to you. This is where your guides speak to you and your loved ones who have passed, not here.
It's making me think we need something. I mean, obviously I teach automatic writing and you have many processes you teach as well, that we need God time, spirit time, angel time on a daily basis if we want them to chase us down.
Yeah. I just put my little silicone wedding ring back on my pinky finger here. I hadn't had it on in a while. And it's my reminder, have I had that angel time moment by moment? Am I tuned in all the time? I took it off because I think I don't need this, but man, nothing makes me smile more than looking down and seeing that.
It's interesting. I used to, until the accident, have a wedding ring on one hand and a ring for being wed to God on the other. They had to take off the wedding ring. And my hand still swells up too much to be able to put a ring on. So that's interesting. You've got me thinking now.
Yeah, huh? And you don't need that ring to sanctify your wedding, your marriage to Jessica. And yet it's a beautiful reminder. Same thing with this. We don't have to have a ring to let us know we're part of this beautiful field of love. Yet it's a beautiful reminder.
This is Miraku. This is Hannah. These are our two girls that we've been calling in. Keeping them, I'm going to cry now, but keeping them by our sides has been the reminder we need to have the space and have that communication and channel. And I'm told we get to make that channel even stronger between us and our spirit babies who are coming through. And so, like you're saying, having those constant reminders. This may seem like a strange one, but right now it's probably needed more than ever.
But your faith is strong, your trust is strong, but you also understand this is I want to do this. I'm going to say this, Michael, not from a psychic sense of sensing anything. Okay? I don't sense anything good or bad, but I'm just saying that then what happens to the people that say, maybe I didn't pray hard enough if we don't get our
I'm so
way?
glad you brought that up.
Right. I did the dolls, but maybe I didn't hold them 24 hours a day and something happened that wasn't right. We don't know, so you do what you can, but we don't become obsessive about it. We surrender to, in religious terms, thy will be done. In spiritual terms, that the greatest good be fulfilled. And we're going to co-create these two healthy babies with this process, yet at the same time understand we don't have total control.
We have so far, I didn't go out on a bike ride and say, well, we know what's going to happen today. I am so far from total control. And I'm glad you brought that up because This is where things like the law of attraction, I get very picky about things like this, because I do believe we can help get in alignment with spirit, which can make life easier, more joyous. It doesn't mean we may not still get the learnings, the lessons, whatever we need for our expansion, for our growth. So we go, well, I've had people say to me, you're a teacher, Michael. Why did you get hit by a car? Same journey, same experience. We're going to get that. Conversely, I do not believe in my soul of souls that if you have a moment of doubt, if you have an infinite number of moments of doubt, you're creating that badness from happening to you. That, to me, is where law of attraction can be completely misunderstood. Because, frankly, I don't think we have enough energy in us out of frequency with the universe to create badness. We do have enough energy in us aligned with the universe to create goodness.
Yay. Yeah. That's that you bring to mind the image of a flower that will rise up from a crack in a sidewalk, because that is nature, goes towards growth, goes towards the light. Everything is programmed for that, not badness. That's what we trust in.
And so I'll be honest. When we got some shaky news last week, I went to praying to the angels, writing to the angels, cycling mantras with the angels. My hand is on Jessica's belly, and I'm sending energy, and I'm sending love, and I'm sending light.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Amen to that.
Yeah, of course.
And if something, it's going to work out. But if whatever, who knows what work out means, I guess. If it's not the outcome that I desire, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, it's not because I did or did not do anything.
That's why you're saying this. And we humans say, oh, I might be jinxing this by saying this. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You just align with your highest truth, trust that the greatest good happen, and prayer is part of that alignment.
Can you share, particularly right now, I feel like this is the show for it. Would you have a miracle story or two you wouldn't mind sharing having to do with angels?
A gentleman came to me for a reading, and I was trying to tune into his loved ones across the veil. And this was a high pressure reading because someone, an afterlife researcher, had asked me to do this reading for this gentleman. We're in person. And I said, I'm really not getting anybody. But all of a sudden, I'm aware of Archangel Michael here with me, which surprised me, because with afterlife researchers generally aren't going to want to hear that in the reading with this medium, we talk to the archangels. And I started giving the man messages, and he said, who is that that's talking? And I said, it's Archangel Michael. And he leaned forward and he said, ask him if we ever met in person. Have I told you this story, Michael?
No.
Okay. And that's a crazy question. My human side would say, oh, how are you going to prove that? But I know how Michael feels. I have a video online that's it's very popular, because I say I have proof that Archangel Michael exists. So here he is. I feel him again. So I said, well, here he is. So I'll ask him, have you ever met in person? He says, yes. And I said, tell me the details. And the man says, my client, ask him what he was wearing. He says he was dressed all in white. Ask him what he was carrying. He says he was carrying a Bible. Ask him what we talked about. He says you talked about death and dying, and that there was something in his eyes that you couldn't forget. I wonder, was there anything else? Oh, there might have been one or two more details. So we went on from there, and Michael had a big message for my client. At the end of the reading, my client tells me that this had happened 20, 30 years ago. He'd been driving to an after-death conference with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on a backcountry road. It's dark, it's foggy, and he's falling asleep at the wheel. And suddenly, through the fog, he sees a man standing along the side of the road, hitchhiking. He was dressed all in white, carrying only one thing, a Bible. I'm getting goosebumps again. I just love this story. He picks him up. He says, what are you doing out here? And he says, well, thanks for picking me up. And And he said to the man, "Where are you?" The man said to him, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to this conference with this Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross." So they talked about death and dying. The funny part is, my client tells me when he said to the man, "Where are you going?" he answered, "I'm headed to Vegas." He's dressed in white, carrying a Bible in the middle of nowhere, right? You can see where this is going. And so they drove on chatting for a couple hours, and the man said, "I'll get out here." And my client said, "But there's nothing here." And he said, "That's all right. I've gone far enough." And he says he wrote, well, I have a little strip of paper right here. He wrote his phone number on it, put it in the glove box. And you can imagine the outcome, that when the man got where he was going, opens the glove box and there's nothing there. So he asked me, did I imagine that? And Michael's telling me it was me. He needed to get to that conference. He needed to go on to become a founder of a major afterlife organization. So we say, why was that man saved by an angel? That's a miracle. And others aren't. We don't always have the bigger picture. And it's not just that only those who are going to go on to do great things are saved. You can do a great thing just by showing someone they're loved, right? So, yeah, that's a beautiful story said by actually Archangel Michael, who pulled a good one there to keep him from running off the road.
Wow. How do I put this? Well, it already answers the question. So I have a list of questions, and I'm not even going through them, but they're actually being ticked off. That's when I know Spirit is
I love when that happens.
Is driving the ship. But one of the questions was, can angels appear in human form, or can they help move around people for your highest good?
Oh, yes. And that's why I say that's what we call a miracle, when they sometimes play with the rules of the earthly realm that you really can't move objects, but they can. And it doesn't happen on a grand scale because we have to learn of our own accord to trust the greater reality. So we have to play by the rules. But every once in a while, the angels break them.
What would you say are the angel rules? Because I'm guessing rule number one, from what I understand, is thou shalt not interfere unless called upon.
Or it will significantly affect the greater good, because that is a rule. You have to ask, and I didn't know that. So angels help us sleep, or angels the other day couldn't find something, and I remembered, I would have just asked my spirit guide, but I've really been having fun saying, "Angels, where is that?" And I mean, boom, put it in my mind, and it just stunned me, a place I'd never even thought to look. And of course, that's where it was. But the rules of the angelic realm have just let us know how loved we are, help as they can. The thing about the angelic realm is it's even higher than the astral realm, which is where we all go right after this one. And each reality is a reality based on the rules that we have to play by. So people say, what do you mean rules? Well, here in this earthly realm, we have to abide by time and space, time unfolding, past, present, future. We can only be in one place at one time. We have gravity that keeps our feet firmly on the ground physically, unless we get in a jet. That kind of rule, cause and effect, plays out slowly. We don't always see the effects that we set into motion till much later. In the astral realm, as my mediumship guide, my former friend Brenda, has shown me, she can be with multiple people at once. All of us will enjoy that when we leave these bodies. We don't have to be an angel to do that. We can fly because we don't have a body, so no gravity. Time, space, not a problem. In the angelic realm, even fewer rules. So they can affect great numbers of people. Be aware of what's happening to large masses of humanity at once. And then you have the angelic realm, and then even the archangelic realm, where they can help all of humanity. So much more freedom.
What would you say, angels? Thank you. What is there? Because from what I can understand, they have their own life path, their own mission. They're also expanding their consciousness. How are they interwoven or interlinked with us?
You fell right into that one, Michael, because I came prepared with a picture to show to you. Hopefully it'll come. There it is.
Well, thank you, angels, for
And
setting me up.
I didn't know how I was going to get to this, but you asked, how are they interwoven with us?
And that's not on my list, mind you.
Okay. And I didn't tell you about this. So we definitely have our teams, look, they're up there rubbing their hands together, like saying, they're listening. That's good. I was teaching my personal mediumship class in Pittsburgh last month, and I'm walking on a break down the hallway in the hotel where we held it. And I looked down and was snagged. That's what I call when spirit grabs your attention. They snag you, and you notice the snags when you set the intention, let me notice. They snagged me with the pattern in the carpet. I'm always looking for new analogies, new ways to teach and share who we are, how it all fits together. I grab my iPhone and I take a picture of this carpet because, Michael, it answers your question. The realities are totally interwoven. This is the pattern. So if you look carefully, you'll see black hexagons, just a black line, right? And that could represent one realm. Let's call it the earthly physical realm. Then if you look, you'll see hexagons that are kind of blue, spongy, filled in hexagons, interwoven there. Let's call that the astral realm, where our loved ones go, where we go when we pass. But then you also see some bigger ones, like here. It's kind of goldish with a big pattern in the middle. What if that were the angelic realm? It's a greater influence. And then beneath it all is just one big gold pattern. That could be the archangelic realm or just the field of all consciousness itself. But you notice they're not separate. They're all interpenetrating each other. Just different vibrational realities. So if you use my tuning fork analogy, anybody that studied sound knows if you strike a tuning chord near a piano, whatever note resonates with the note of that tuning fork, the strings on the piano will vibrate. Our thoughts are tones. So we being maybe that black line here, maybe that represents one of us, or it could represent different cultures, but just groupings, fields within the human realm. We send out a certain vibration, perhaps the thought of a certain angel. Our thought of that angel carries their information, and it would resonate with whatever angel it's supposed to. They feel it, it activates them, lights them up, and they're like, they finally decided to call on me. They don't have to go anywhere to come to us. We've already activated that connection through our thoughts that don't come from the head. We radiate it from the heart, all tied together. But there's just an awful lot of vibrating and resonating going on. And the one note that resonates at all levels is, we call it Om, that's divine love. So that's the carrier wave of everything. But does that make sense to you? Can you see it?
And it makes sense that there is no separation. There are different layers, but it's all one. There is no you without angels. It does not exist. It's not possible. But there's also no angels without you.
That's it. And my guide Brenda, when she passed the other side, she was not like my mother. She did not go to a healing place and need to wake up. She was immediately awake and visiting multiple friends here. She dropped in on me within hours, incredible evidence. And her immediate message to all of us was, there's only here, Suzanne. I didn't go anywhere. There's only here in consciousness. This is so important for us to understand. You don't feel your angels. You don't feel your loved ones who have passed because you're so used to having them in your field, you wouldn't know what it felt like until you asked them to leave. And suddenly, that's a temporary condition, because who wants to tell them to go away? But they'll do it for a moment in meditation just so you say, whoa, you really are with me always.
Which means, let's see, the question started blanking out, and I wonder if angels are playing with me or not. As you were saying that last bit, you could not, barring this experiment, be alone even if you tried.
That's right. You can't. You are the whole web. and you are at the same time one individual expression of it. That's the part most people don't understand. They think it's either or.
I call it the rose on the bush. You are the whole bush and you're that individual rose, but you cannot be, as universe, there is no such thing as a snippers that's going to come along and separate you from your bushedness.
Yeah.
So,
Michael, before you go there, I don't want to lose time and forget. There was this teeny weeny miracle this morning that just had me laughing.
Go for it.
I'm going to share it in my next monthly mentoring because these things happen all the time and I love sharing them with people. But I meditate with music. I had my phone nearby. I had my ear pods in my ear, and I just getting started, a nice expanded state. And I prayed, angels, fill me with your light. I wanted to feel that light. I don't pray it every day. Fill me with your light. Just then, ding. You have a text. I was so irritated. Here I'm in this lovely state. And I was like, do I look? I'm going to look. So I pick up the phone that's right there. This is the text from my next door neighbor. She sent me a picture of the rainbow over your house right now. How's that for timing? And the angels right now, can you hear them? They're going, yay. And the timing's divine because we get to share it real time today as it happened. Fill me with your light. What is the rainbow? It has all the colors of the spectrum. One white light contains all the colors of the spectrum. I mean, the timing, it was just like that. Ding, it's over your house, flowing right into you.
Talk about, if we want to have a sense, well, they have a divine sense of humor. And we get to be flexible and allow that in. My guess is with you and Ty, this has happened many times.
Oh, all the time. I gasp and he doesn't even bother to say, what? He's like, I know, you'll tell me when you're ready. Yeah, the latest wow from Spirit. And this is why I love that you have me on the show again, Michael, because we can't say this too many times to people. This is what I'm talking about. It doesn't just happen to me. It happens to everybody when they start living moment by moment, tuning in, following the nudges. It's an ongoing cooperative engagement. They're with you. They're your team. You're not alone.
How do you use the ring that's around your pinky finger, or how have you in the past used some way to remind you as you were getting ingrained into this understanding?
I notice it because I haven't been wearing it for a while, and it's just like, am I listening? Step by step, literally step by step. I'm going to leave this room, and there's just a tuning in. What's the best thing for me to do right now? It's not wondering aimlessly. It's an asking. It's a huge difference. I don't know what I'm going to do right now versus what's the best thing for me to do? And the answer doesn't come in the form of a guide saying, go check your email or go make dinner, although sometimes it does. But usually it's just, I know that I'm supposed to do this. And that sensitivity comes from a daily practice of sitting in the silence and asking for guidance.
How much knowing was there early on, or how much did you have to cultivate or even...
I want to say zip, but I know that's not true. You know my background. I was the aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the head of the U.S. military. So there had to have been something in me that was intuitive enough that I knew what he needed, when he needed it, on the spot. That's part of the reason that I got that job. He noticed that I was on the ball.
You were in tune.
In tune. But I just took that as my natural way of being. But now it's just expanded to not just being there when somebody needs help. It's every moment tuning in to what is the best step now.
What are some of my other... Forgive me, I'm stepping back and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm drilling Suzanne on being Suzanne. But this is really cool stuff.
Oh, here, I want you just remind me the word as I was talking about that. I recently met a new couple. We went out for a meal together, and I was so, what's the word? Surprised that this woman turned to her husband for everything. Everything she said, I'd ask her a question, and she'd look at him like for validation, and then she'd answer, and then she'd look at him like, was that the right answer, honey? She clearly was very unsure of herself. That's kind of the way I'd like people to start thinking of their team, but it's not because we're unsure. It's because if you know there's somebody there with the big perspective, why wouldn't you check in with them? So we're not going to be constantly going, do I brush my teeth now or wash my face? What's the right answer, honey, my angel? But it is similar. She was in the habit of checking in with him. This reminds me, am I going it alone in my human role, or am I remembering I'm part of a team? I'm not only human. My soul is always in communion with my guides. I just have to integrate the two. So I check in like that.
And I guess a difference would be also that, unlike this situation, there is no judgment. There is no wrong. There is only goodness or greatness or godness, whatever we want to call it. What are some of the other questions then that you ask of your team?
Any question. And it's not that I'm second guessing myself, and I don't ask every question of them. But certainly any big question for which I don't have the answer, I go to them. Every time I catch myself doing something very human and I know it's not in alignment with my true nature, maybe I snap at my husband or I get defensive about something. Ooh, I take that one into meditation. I don't want to get an answer on the fly for that. I want to sit quietly and say, what was that all about? Please show me where that came from and help me clear it out. Because that will help us tune in all the better at any time.
What I've been having, I don't know if I want to call it fun. Fun may not be the right term. But a lot of wounds that I thought that I had fully cleared due to, we'll call it the high energy of SUV gifting me in the body, have been come up to be cleared. And so I watch when a pattern comes up. And like you're saying, I'm going to go sit with it and be with it. Or it may even just take a moment and be honest with it.
Oh, I'm going to share a big one in my upcoming January monthly mentoring. I don't have the time now, and I really don't want to spoil the surprise. But I mean, just when you think everything's good, and you discover another thing that can be healed. And we never get to the end of that. My friend Brenda said, you're all walking wounded. But she said, the wounds look like little scars in the aura. But the ones you work on, they look like glowworms to the angels. There's nothing wrong with having these wounds. That's part of the human journey. We come here knowing we're going to get a little beat up.
There's a Japanese art, and I'm not going to get the name right now, where you take, for instance, broken porcelain or ceramics, and maybe use the equivalent of a golden glue.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And you glue it back together, and it becomes, rather than, well, that's broken, we should throw it away, it's more valuable.
I love that.
That's what we're doing with our wounds. If we go to angelic realm, we'll call it, there's no judgment. There's only love.
Absolutely. That is the whole point, that you can't do anything to upset them. And there's nobody going to judge you. We all make mistakes, and the scary part is when we do something that's so out of what we thought we could ever do, and you realize you really have the potential for any response, because everything arises from this one sea of all possibilities. So the moment you start judging somebody else, watch out. It could be you doing the same thing someday, and the angels won't judge you for that. They'll understand.
I can remember years and years ago, I was, we can say, out of alignment in that moment, and several eagle feathers that I had a collection of, all of a sudden lined themselves up like a gust of wind, and all of a sudden, poof, 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 on the doorway, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh, yeah, whoa.
If somebody is really, and we'll begin to wind this down here, if somebody is really struggling right now, really challenged, bring this full circle back to our knees, or feeling alone, because that's the thing. This is the time, fa la 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 la, where it's supposed to be family time and such. People, this is the time of darkness, which to me actually means that the light can shine the brightest. But it's hard right now. What do people do? Where do they go? How do they navigate this turn?
I just received a comment on my daily way messages from a woman whose husband passed, and she says she stays busy all the time and nothing fills that hole. But that hole that many feel, we could call it emptiness, but it's also a fullness. And the only way to see that change is by diving into that experience, sitting with it and asking the angels to show you how to turn it from emptiness to fullness without doing a thing. And it's an experience of light that they can give to you. Those daily way messages, 99% of the time, they're dictated through the same automatic writing process that you know, Michael. They end their messages with the words, "You are so very loved." And that's what we need to come to know, that the love is part of our very nature. So ask the angels, show me that. Let me feel that. Let me experience that. No matter what I've done in this lifetime, no matter what I think of myself or others, know you're worthy of that experience. Ask the angels to give it to you.
Who are we then? And is there anybody that is not?
We are all unique expressions of the one light of consciousness shining out through billions of lenses. So each of us with our unique view on the world. As we record this, today's Daily Way message was all about that. You are the voice of God, the arms and hands of God. What you call God may limit your awareness of what that power, what that source really is, but that force, that light experiences this earthly realm through each of us, through you who are listening or watching this. What an honor that is, and yet we're not separate from it. Why would it judge itself when it came here to be itself as you?
Woohoo! And that makes me think. Some people have found it a weird analogy or something, but it's like, okay, I think it's cool. A fly's eye, each with its own unique little prism. We're each one individual prism making up the eye. Where can people go to get your Daily Ways message and to find out more?
The message is at dailyway.org. SuzanneGiesemann.com has a link to it. And in fact, right on the homepage now, we have several upcoming events, including that monthly mentoring that I mentioned. That's every month, the latest wows and miracles and teachings from Spirit. But right there on the homepage is a free e-guide that is called Where Do I Begin? A Path to Hope and Healing. And lots of goodies in there. Many, in fact, probably 50% or more are free, with all kinds of tools to get these answers, to connect with our guides, to find out why you are so very loved.
Thank you. Just a couple last things. And then if you have time for a prayer or meditation or just sending love, it's all good. What does hope mean to you?
Hope means to me, I've been there and done that as a human, yet there's something in me that just knows there's more than this. And so at first, I'm going to hang on hope, just that wish that it's real, but I know that that's what's going to propel me to finding out what my heart already knows. I don't need to hope, it's real. So it's an intermediary step.
Hope is the intermediary step to knowing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any last words of wisdom you want to share then?
I would like to do just a very brief practice, very, very brief, because you asked. So instead of the wisdom, personal experience, I'd like everybody watching or listening, if you're not driving a car operating heavy machinery, please close your eyes for a moment. And I always love to imagine a shaft of white light coming down from the heavens, going around you, down through your feet, and anchoring you into the center of the universe. If you have a pet, they will come and sit near you when you do that because they'll feel that light. You are that light. You're not separate from it, but we can visualize it to strengthen our connection with all that is. So just take a nice deep breath. Pull in that divine loving energy from above and below and just bring it down into the heart area. Exhale nice and slowly. Now I'd like you to notice that most likely your awareness is in the head because our eyes and ears are there. We think that's where our true being is. But move your awareness down to the heart. You still become very aware from the heart, from the gut, from your whole abdominal region. Just rest there for a moment. And I can say to you what Spirit says. We've said it already. You are so very loved. Spirit can say it, but you are the arms of Spirit now. So with nobody watching you and with your eyes closed, I'd like you to take your hands and caress your arms in a hug. Run your hands gently down your own arms, basically petting yourself with the love of the angelic realm. They can't physically touch you, so do it for them. Just give yourself the love that you deserve. Take one hand and hold it to a cheek now. Caress your cheek. Be the hand of Spirit, showing you through this beautiful vessel they gave you with which to feel their love, how very loved you are. You're never alone. But when you feel alone in physical form, be the hands of God. You are so loved. You can just take a nice breath and breathe that in. And if anybody felt the need to cry, that's just the soul saying, hear us well. This is truth. And so it is.
Thank you, Suzanne. This has been so, I'm very subdued now.
Yeah, that's okay. And we just surround you and Jessica and your babies with the brightest possible light. And everybody who's listening, everybody's going through so many challenges, and we're all in it together. Yeah.
We are. And
it can be no other way.
Just love. It's all love, period. Once we get the big picture perspective, it's just love. On that note, I love you. I love Ty. Thank you guys so much for being here, and for Ty for lending us you for this beautiful late afternoon, early evening. I want to wish you the most beautiful holidays ahead, year ahead, changing people's lives ahead, plugged into Spirit ahead. I'm your biggest fan and supporter, and I'm sure there are many others that are just as big, but we're all there for you, Suzanne.
Yeah, it's like you said, I can't do it without all of you, and everybody buoys me. This is just such a joy. My greatest wish is that others find that joy themselves.
Beautiful. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get messages of hope, and call in the angelic assistance every single chance you can. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! What a beautiful interview with Suzanne Giesemann on getting in touch with your angels, connecting with your angels, and continuously asking, where do I go from here? From your angels. On that note, if you want to connect with your angels, learn everything you can from Suzanne, and also check out the automatic writing experience. Usually I have a copy in my hand. Now I'm pointing over my shoulder. Kind of the challenge of these times as we are rolling with the angels as well. But it's an exercise you can do each and every day. I'll call it a practice you can do, as Suzanne was talking about, each and every day to get in touch with your angelic team and get guidance from the other side, which is really from right here. Certainly you can get it at automaticwriting.com, or actually you can get it at Amazon, but you can go to automaticwriting.com and get the entire video-based program plus our live classes. And if you go to inspirenationuniversity.com, you can learn how to become a mystic with Michael's School of Mystics. You can also click that simple join button down below to get lots of behind-the-scenes videos with our Mystic Circle here on YouTube. If you want to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, live events every Monday night with me, simply click the subscribe button and the bell icon, which will notify you. We even have a live Q&A, so bring your questions every Monday night. Here's the link for the next amazing show. Love you guys so much. Shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys.